Hello, my name is Danny Blueberry, and I'm filming from my home in Montreal, Canada. Um, it's the beginning of November, and seems to be some interest in how my company, Blueberry Guitars, got started. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the origin. These are some of the guitars in my personal collection. So, first of all, here's my face. Hello. Um, and here's the story. Back in 2005, well, I've always been a businessman since I was 18 years old, but I was also a musician. I've been playing guitar since I was 13, and music was my passion. So I was on a business trip in Hong Kong, and I decided to take a side trip to Bali, Indonesia. Bali is a Hindu island, which is part of a much larger country, and the people in Bali have a long tradition of artistry and craftsmanship and wood carving and stone carving. And so I arrived to Bali, figured I'll have a few days off and I'll be able to play my guitar. But to my shock and horror, I'd forgotten my guitar in the hotel in Hong Kong. And I figured, okay, no problem. I'll get in the taxi and we'll go to a music store and buy a guitar and I can have something to play on the weekend. But to my surprise, there was really no music store that my taxi driver could find, no matter how much we tried. So eventually we found a cheap guitar in something like a 7-Eleven, a convenience store. And it was losing its tone immediately. Like as I was strumming it in the taxi, it was losing its tone. And I thought, oh, this is bad. But we were driving towards my hotel and we passed through a small wood carving village called Gianyar. And in Gianyar, you can hear the tick, tick, tick of wood carvers, traditional Balinese wood carvers, sitting on the sidewalk carving tourist art. There's pretty much dragons and sculptures. This is a good example here. These two. This this sculpture is made from a single block of wood. It's heavy, and you can see the curvature of the Balinese dancer. It's just beautiful. The detail work, like her face is so lifelike, and I was always a fan of that. And here's an example of a sculpture of Balinese puppet. So they're obviously very artistic and they're very good with wood. And that's where a little light bulb went off in my head. I said, well, if these guys are so good at wood, why can't they build guitars? And it was a very good question. So I asked the taxi driver to take me to the top wood carving gallery. So all these wood carvers would present their carvings to the gallery, and I guess the gallery would buy it, or the sculptures would sit on retainer, or consignment. So I introduced myself to the gallery that the taxi driver took me to, and I showed them this guitar, and I asked them if they'd be interested in building guitars. And it was a young couple, and they said, you know what, not us, but the girl's father, like the owner's wife's father, said she thinks he might be interested because he always likes interesting projects. So at that point, I was introduced to Mr. Wayan Tugas, and who is now my present Blueberry business partner. And I showed him the guitar, and I said, do you think you'd be interested in building something like this? And he was interested. We went to the back of his store, of the shop. He had an old saw, like some machinery, and we cut open the guitar. We examined the bracing, and he said, yeah, I think I could do this. I said, that's wonderful. So I gave him some money. I said, could you build me 5 of these guitars, similar to what this Chinese one that I gave him, and put on some Balinese sculptures. I'd like to see serpents or dragons or tigers or flowers. Just make it decorative, because I thought I'd want to create something really quite special. He said yes, and then I asked the taxi driver, I said, I'm going to be going home to Canada. Would you be interested in just coming and visiting him and taking pictures and sending them to me so I could see the progress? He said, absolutely. So that's what happened. I went home and I came back about 3 months later, went to see Mr. Tugas, and this is the guitars that he'd built. So you can see here, this is a solid piece of wood almost. 1 or 2 pieces of wood. So he went Balinese goddess, beautiful goddesses over here as well. But it is really not a guitar. It's just a piece of wood. It's a sculpture. Another thing I forgot to mention was, is that I'd asked him to also build some electric guitar for me, and he didn't know what an electric guitar is. Actually, Mr. Tugas never touched a guitar before, and I said, well, an electric guitar is similar to an acoustic guitar. I tried to draw a picture, but I'm not very good at drawing. So, of course, there was no electric guitar to buy. So I went to a souvenir shop and I bought a fridge magnet of an electric guitar. And I said, well, this is more or less what it looks like. Build it the same size as the acoustic guitar. And he said, okay, we'll give it a shot. And so I came back. When I came back, he showed me this, which is, I guess, the first prototype of a Blueberry electric guitar, which is, as you can see, paper thin because it was built off a fridge magnet. But the detail work was outstanding, as it still is on Blueberry guitars. And that's it for this little video. I'm going to be posting every week and telling you the history of the guitars. Please hit subscribe if you're interested, and next week I'll show you the progression of how we went from there and there to there and there and there. Also, for subscribers, in case you're interested, we'll be giving out prizes once a month. So hit subscribe, and I hope to see you back next time. All the best to you. Bye-bye.